Episode: Breaking News. The GTeam, International Fugitive Terrorists, and Rick Liberty. Channel 86, Breaking News! A young woman with long blonde hair sporting generous makeup, a warm smile, and dentist-perfect teeth looked into the camera. She wore a fitted red news anchor professional uniform mini dress. She greeted, "Hi, I'm Saline White," followed by a clean-shaven young, attractive man with perfectly coiffed dark hair and a chiseled jaw. He spoke, "And I am Randy Rudolph, and this is Breaking News with Channel 86. Randy paused, looked into the camera, and he cautioned, "Before we proceed, I must warn our viewing audience that this episode includes violent and gory content that may be offensive or unsuitable for some audiences. Please view responsibly." Randy concluded his scary content warning. And with that, Randy resumed his normal broadcast. Well, today we have extraordinary footage of recent catastrophic and horrific events that happened right here in Riverdale, New York, and in Lilydale, in upstate rural New York. We even have video of violence against law enforcement, police, and against the citizens across the world. It's terrifying, but we have two expert guests that will be on the show today. We will have FBI agent Jose Ramirez. Agent Ramirez will connect a series of worldwide terrorist activities and events that all link back to one specific lone wolf terrorist team. And we have a world-renowned psychiatrist and neurologist, Dr. Caselli, from the Scottsdale Psychiatric Prison for the Criminally Insane. Dr. Caselli will share his insight on the terrorist team from a psychological perspective. Saline joined in and began speaking. "Let's look at what happened right here in New York first. Again, I must warn our viewers, these images may be gory, very scary, and potentially offensive to some people." Well, with that cautionary note, let's roll the footage. Just outside a subway entrance to Manhattan, video was captured of a member of the terrorist group. It was a blonde woman in all black leather. Without provocation, upon seeing a policeman who were simply on duty protecting the area, she just attacked the officers. She left one of the officers dead right there on the street. And another officer she killed. She threw him down a subway stairwell to his death. Randy Rudolph jumped back in and interjected, "That is horrific, Saline. One might think that was bad enough. But ho, Saline, up in Riverdale, here in New York, there was a mass shooting with many dozens of people killed. Civilians were caught in the event, and law enforcement, they took very, very heavy casualties. During the shooting, a Riverdale mansion was destroyed. It exploded. It was totally and completely annihilated." Saline took back the spotlight and she spoke. "It's beyond words to imagine such carnage right here in New York. What happened in the small upstate rural town called Lilydale? is incredibly hard to believe. It was even more destructive. The terrorists, they attacked a medical research facility that was just located up there in Lilydale. They murdered en masse dozens and dozens of people, and they left their bodies everywhere slaughtered, and they spread them all around the research facility and around its surrounding areas. The terrorists, they further detonated massive explosives that utterly and completely destroyed the medical research facility. They left nothing to chance, using excessive firepower and explosives to destroy absolutely everything and to kill everyone that was in their way or in the area. The Channel 86 camera turned back to Randy. "Hey, it's time to speak with FBI Agent Ramirez. Agent Ramirez?" FBI Agent Jose Ramirez was a middle-aged white man with slightly bushy, overgrown hair and a serious, judgmental demeanor and expression. Agent Ramirez spoke. "Thanks, Randy. It's great to be on your show. I think the main things people need to know are: 1, the terrorist group calls itself the GTeam. The GTeam, they declare, is supposed to be God's team. The GTeam is an extremist, right-wing, Christian terror group that evangelizes and enforces its violent ideology and zealotry onto its victims. And 2, the GTeam may be a small or a very vast terrorist network group. We don't know yet how deep and how far the terror group goes. That said, they do seem to have immense wealth and resources stashed all over the world. And they have proven that they have the ability to travel globally, completely undetected. They even managed to break their leader out of a maximum security prison for the insane. They broke into the facility, they spread terror as they tore through its security, and they incapacitated guards and the orderlies. Ultimately, the GTeam, they extracted an inmate named Richard Seaborn, who goes by the alias name Rick Liberty. And he is the leader of the GTeam, the terrorist group. Regardless if this GTeam is a big terror group or a small terrorist team, their impact has been significant devastation and death wherever they go. And 3, we have identified 6 of the top terrorists in the GTeam. Richard Seaborn, aka Rick Liberty, is their leader. He fancies himself as a true Knight of God. Now, his words. And there is a woman named Andrea Taylor, aka Taylor Everest. She is a former military special forces soldier. And there is another woman named Katie Snowett, aka Katie Divine, a former gang member and a sleeper cell who has been hiding in rural Washington state, but has been now activated. She has proven to be very dangerous, and there is an especially ruthless member and zealot of the GTeam, a male member of the terrorist cell, whose name is Bob Woods Sanchez, aka HR Bob Cervantes. Originally, he was an embedded spy in Microsoft within Human Resources. But Bob, He collected, he stole invaluable technology and information while he awaited his orders to exit the company and join the terrorist cell, the GTeam. And there is a woman named Sarah McGilvray, aka Sarah Seraphim. Sarah seems to be the most extreme of these extremists in her zealotry, which is supported by her alias Seraphim, which means she sees herself as an angelic warrior for heaven. Well, Sarah is a native of Ireland. She is a terrorist. Sarah is a right-wing Christian extremist, and she is a trained assassin and infiltrator. We have seen Sarah kill without remorse. We have seen her inflict tremendous death and destruction without care. And there is another man whose code name is simply Tiny. His identity is unknown. This Tiny seems mostly to be a pilot and a driver. He seems to be their getaway driver and their pilot to get them wherever they need to go, and of course transport their weapons of destruction. He is clearly their transportation expert. And 4, the GTeam terror group itself. It seems to have first started in Athlone, Ireland. They have been associated now with CCTV and security surveillance for breaking into and robbing Athlone businesses, shooting and killing numerous people there, and destroying vehicles on city streets, and shooting and killing dozens of people at a religious service. They even murdered a priest while he was in his church. Horrifically, these terrorists, they kidnapped the Athlone councilwoman and they ritualistically embalmed her, killing her as another victim of their horror. And 5, the GTeam terror continued in Prague. The GTeam greatly escalated their violence, though, and their destruction when they went to Prague. They destroyed, with massive explosives, 3 major buildings in Prague. They went on full assault, shooting and blowing up everything and everyone in their path. They exploded Muon Energy, a technology company that was focused on no more than renewable energy and quality of life devices. And they blew up another company called Graphene Labs, an R&D company that was dedicated to green renewables, technologies, and advanced battery storage systems. The GTeam annihilated the Prion Biotechnologies company buildings. It was just a medical company dedicated to helping people with neurological disorders and brain damage. They were working on advanced brainwave and implant technologies. The terrorists, they even erased all those companies' cloud storage and their backups, setting every company back decades or more. The collective death and destruction and the loss of knowledge and information and technologies in Prague was insane and utter madness. Thousands of people were killed and technologies just stopped in their tracks. And there is 6. The GTeam terror continued even more when they went to New York. Saline and Randy already shared much on the GTeam's terror activities in New York. So let me just note this. The GTeam has proven remarkably skilled and capable. They are diverse in expertise. They are methodical, strategic, and planned. They scope out their targets. They blend in. wearing everyday clothing, or they wear full-on combat armor. They may not look like terrorists, but they are very much terrorists. And 7, the GTeam, well, they're gone in the wind right now. We don't know where the GTeam is, or any of its members where they might be at the moment. We can only wonder, where in the world is Rick Liberty and the GTeam? Well, that's everything I can share at this time. So, let me recap who these internationally wanted violent terrorist criminals really are. 1. The GTeam terrorist group is comprised of Richard Seaborn, aka Rick Liberty. He's their leader and a former technology leader, a chief technology officer no less. And Andrea Taylor, aka Taylor Everest. She's a former military special forces soldier. And Katie Snowett, aka Katie Devine. She's a former gang member and a sleeper cell who's been activated. And there's Bob Woods Sanchez, aka HR Bob Cervantes, a previously embedded spy in Microsoft, technology thief from human resources, and now terrorist. And there's Sarah McGilvray, aka Sarah Seraphim. She's a right-wing Christian extremist, assassin, infiltrator. And there's Tiny, identity unknown, pilot, driver, transportation expert. Saline interceded. That's great information to have, Agent Ramirez. Our viewers can go to our website, crocks.com. That's SEA-ROCKS.com for media and information. And most importantly, they can find the FBI hotline to call in any tips on where in the world is Rick Liberty and the GTeam. Saline shifted focus and spoke further. Okay, let's hear from Dr. Caselli, the criminal psychiatrist that treated Rick Liberty. Dr. Caselli, you're up. A well-kempt and manicured, middle-aged black man sporting a dark brown, ash-colored suit with a tie and wide-rimmed glasses joined the conversation. Thank you, Miss Saline. I appreciate your having me on your show. Dr. Caselli's expression turned gravely serious, and he continued. My team of 3 criminal psychiatrists and I were assigned to diagnose and treat, as noted, the man named Richard Seaborn, after he murdered a man in cold blood, leaving his friends and family without him forevermore, because Richard selfishly killed the man in his self-declared justified homicide. Richard was sentenced to my care at the Scottsdale Psychiatric Prison for the Criminally Insane, where Richard still insisted that he was justified in his devastating, deadly actions. Dr. Caselli stated resolutely, Richard is diagnosed as suffering from neurodegeneration, and he has numerous neurological and psychiatric disorders, with the most relevant here being severe bipolar disorder, multiple personality disorder, advanced schizophrenia, narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, with delusions of grandeur. His narcissism is conflicted further by his concurrent Machiavellianism, and of course, he suffers from ongoing progressive psychosis from neurodegeneration. These disorders have manifested in a severe delusion, where Richard sees himself as the ultimate judge of humanity, proclaiming that he is the divine fulcrum, that humanity's very survival pivots over. His narcissism and delusions of grandeur are on full display in his decreeing that he is God's judge of humanity, where he advises Jesus on when it is time for the apocalypse. It is utter madness and nonsense. Richard's dementia, his madness, has culminated further in his conceiving himself to be someone else other than himself altogether. Richard has conceived that to become the fulcrum, he should have a new identity. Richard transformed himself into the character hero Rick Liberty, a warrior, or as he would call himself, a paladin that fights for God and defends righteousness, thereby justifying his extreme, devastating, destructive behavior, therefore justifying his extreme violence, and thusly justifying his complete and total disregard for law and order. To make matters more obvious on how far Richard has degenerated, illustrating, as they say, how much his brains have all dried up, Richard has concluded that his team, God's team, is simply called the GTeam. Yes, his GTeam he considers to be God's champions, the last of the Knights Templar. Richard's fantasies are insane. Richard and his GTeam are extremely disconnected from reality at this point. Richard now uses his alter ego persona of Rick Liberty as his identity. I will attempt to refer to Richard going forward as Rick Liberty to reduce possible confusions. Dr. Caselli looked somewhat apologetic, and he continued, "You know, I think it would be best for me to admit my team's failing in all of this. I would like to confess, if you will, our failing in this disaster. When we were first engaged with Rick as our psychiatric inmate patient, we believed that his delusions manifested in fictional characters that he perceived as real. However, it has since become evident that these friends of Rick are in fact real people. They are not fantasies of his madness. Rick's friends, in reality, are disenfranchised, malleable, impressionable people that are desperately seeking to find purpose in their lives. Rick, being highly intelligent and charismatic, managed to manipulate each and every one of them into believing that they too are fighting for God under his leadership, of course, as he is the commander now of the Knights Templar in his fantasies, and he is the leader of God's champions, the GTeam. Dr. Caselli offered some closing information. Rick explained during his sessions that his GTeam has a large, heavy-duty cargo freight dual-prop airplane that has been converted, made into a recreational vehicle, RV, on the inside, which can accommodate sleeping, eating, and their strategies and planning. And of course, for their traveling anywhere in the world undetected. Richard has even asserted that the airplane has numerous stealth and decoy technologies, and even has flares that can stop targeting systems from identifying what's inside as well as targeting the craft. It all sounded so absurd and fictional at the time. Well, they have proven they have a getaway car. They drive around in a black Ford Expedition, which insanely travels with them inside their cargo plane everywhere they go. This means they seem to have air and ground transportation at their disposal anywhere and everywhere they choose to be. The doctor seemed to finally conclude his immense presentation. Rick also, during his sessions, explained that he inherited $250 billion from an Aunt Milmore, who had recently died in Ireland, and who Rick had never met or even knew about. Rick and the GTeam seem to have spent a lot of money, and yet Rick's bank accounts have remained static, totally unchanged. We have concluded that Rick does indeed have access to a very large sum of money and very extensive resources. Logically, Rick has obtained financial backers, regardless if it was inherited or granted. Dr. Caselli cautioned, perhaps a serious matter in all of this is who Rick actually was. Rick is very persuasive and charismatic, having been professionally trained in public speaking, influence, and pre-law, and due to his extensive experience working with and leading people all around the world as a technologist and a technocrat. Rick is extraordinarily intelligent, having been identified by Stanford University as being one of the most brilliant and unique minds that they have ever tested. Rick was Chief Technology Officer, CTO, and Product and Technology Leader at many Fortune 500 companies. And if all of that was not concerning enough, Rick was a world-class hacker with deep connections in the dark web and in the international hacker community. As you can see, Rick Liberty alone is a formidable and dangerous threat. And combined with his lethal GTeam, the danger they collectively represent to the world is incalculable. Dr. Caselli implored, we need to stop Rick Liberty and his GTeam before they do something so terrible and destructive. We must stop them before they cause destruction and devastation again. Broadcaster Saline White took focus. Wow, this is jaw-dropping stuff. It sounds like these terrorists have virtually unchecked power with all that money and with all those vehicles and resources and with the ability to just travel anywhere so freely, anywhere in the world. Remember, as our audience, if you know where in the world is Rick Liberty and the GTeam, if you know or see anything about them or what they're doing, contact FBI Agent Ramirez. His details are on our website. And thank you all for joining us here on our show, Breaking News on Channel 86. We'll be having more Rick Liberty and GTeam coverage in the future in our broadcast from Channel 86. We look forward to seeing you next time. Ta-ta and ciao. Saline off and watch out for Rick Liberty.